Well, good to see all y'all. I don't have much to say. I'm tired. I'm more tired than y'all, so I'll just go at it.
Coach, I think after the first practice, Coach Pittman came in and said he wanted to have Branham and Shaq working together, and then Blackstock and Harris working together. We've seen them mixed up a little bit in the last few days. Kind of, how much are y'all mixing up? Is that like a day-to-day thing, or within the same practice? Kind of, how's that going?
Well, we started that way just for continuity, so the beginning of install, and you just don't want to have too many moving parts right away. And so we just kind of said the first few days, let's just keep the two guys working together so they can do the reps in individual, do the reps in team. And so since then, after about 3 days, we stopped doing that. We're rotating guys and moving them around and working with different lineups and different groups. So they're used to that. We've been doing it all summer, and all of our walkthroughs all summer. So it's not like a new thing for them. They've been working with each other.
And with Kobe, coming back from his injury, just how has he looked? We've seen him with the ones, during the time we've gotten to see.
Looks good. He's 6'5", 330. He's mean, plays hard, loves to play, has good stature, working on his technique. He's still got some rawness to him that we got to clean up, but he's got all the tools and he has the football IQ and the passion to do it. So he's looked really good.
Another Kobe question for you. Obviously, redshirt freshman, you're seeing less and less younger offensive linemen maybe starting here in the SEC. What are some attributes that maybe he has that allows him to compete for that job as a young guy here?
Well, to me, when you talk about young guys playing, you have physical maturity, mental maturity. You might have a kid that checks the box off from a physical standpoint but hasn't gotten the mental side of it yet, or vice versa. So, the old adage of play the old guys. You want to play the best guys. You want to play the guys that have earned the right to play. And so, for him, he has that physical stature, so he's not necessarily behind from a size standpoint. He still has a long way to go in his strength. I would like him to get a lot stronger than what he is. But just from the size of him, he can handle it. Where he's been able to impress me is he knows the offense. We got over 70 different plays as an O-line that we got to know that are unique. And some of them are, plays off each other or tags off each other. But we got to know a lot of stuff in this offense, and he handles it great. So I think that's what allows him to put himself in position to play as a young player.
Let's go to the left side. What do you like the most about that, Robinson-Carmona tandem over there? Because you could have brought Fernando back and just slotted him at left tackle, but obviously moved him inside. What do they do well together?
They see the game through veteran eyes. They can see things before they happen. They're really good about, we've had some different movement at center for one reason or the other, and it's if a young center says something maybe not quite right, they fix it right away. They know what it's supposed to be. They've got a lot of banked reps in their career. So I think the savviness part of it's just good, but they're both super athletic. They both can run like deer, and they can walk the dog on gap schemes and inside zone and get knocked back, and they can also run to the sideline on pin and pull. They can both run really fast. So I don't know if there's one thing I like the most. I just think I like the versatility of them. I don't have to think about it hey, do we want to run this scheme this way? There's some plays where you might have a player that might not be able to do something skill-wise as good as another. Maybe you only want to run a play a certain direction. With them, we don't even really have to think about it. They're good front side, back side, scheme, doesn't matter.
I know you guys practice physical all the time, but today was the first day in pads, and that's obviously meaningful for your group. What did you see out of today? Did it feel a little bit different?
The biggest difference for us from thud practices to full contact practices is we got to get to the football, because now they're trying to tackle our guy. We know in thud practices, hey, we want to finish our blocks. However, the pursuit to get to the ball becomes more critical because, hey, we need to push the pile. Running back gets stood up. We got to push the pile. There's a tackle attempt at a fumble. We got to cover it. Okay, so I think just the strain to finish the play is the biggest difference from a thud practice to a live tackle situation. Is just that get to the football mindset.
Could you feel it today though that full pads are on? It's a little harder.
I didn't feel it. I don't feel it. I think we play pretty physical, as you said, every day. Whether we got the knee pad is about as big as this cap. Okay, So whether we have this thing over our knee or not doesn't make a big difference. What makes the difference is that they're trying to tackle our buddy. So, that's a personal pride thing.
Sam mentioned the other day he was more of a limited rotation guy, 5, maybe 6. But he said this year could be a 7. I mean, would you feel comfortable at this stage that 7 guys could play, maybe even 8?
Yeah. I mean, if you look, there's no reason you would look, but 2020 when I was at Brigham Young, I had 7 starters. I basically said I got 7 starters, played at least 7, sometimes 8 guys in every game that year. We went 11-1 or whatever we went. But, yeah, I mean, to me, if you earn the right to play, you should get to play. If there's a clear drop-off, then that's when you start questioning. 2015, when last time I was here before I left, those guys didn't come off the field the whole year. And we didn't have any injuries, and God bless us, we were lucky as heck. Denver had to come out of the Tennessee game because his helmet popped off for one play. Johnny Gibson ran in and ran off. And that was it, that whole season. And then I've had seasons where you've had, 10 different combinations of starting lineups, whether it be injuries or maybe somebody's girlfriend breaks up with them on Wednesday and they're practicing like crap. And that other guy's right on his heels. Well, maybe that guy's the guy that goes that week. So I think we have the numbers and the depth to make that a competitive situation. How it's going to play out, we'll see.
You go against them every day. Just what are you seeing from the defensive line when y'all go up head to head?
Various strengths. There's sometimes you play a team and there's like a clear, like they recruit the same guy across the board. I used to remember when you compete against Alabama, every 4-eye, 0-4-eye was going to look the same from one year, the next year, the next year, the next year. Just looked the same, played the same. What I think our D-line has that makes it a huge problem for us is we got big two-gapping guys like Ian him and Cam can just sit there and play both gaps and stand you up. And you got penetrators like David and Danny who can get off the rock, and they are in the backfield before you even know what happened. So to me, the hardest thing about our D-line dealing with them is like, okay, you might teach a combination block versus this guy like this, but it ain't going to work against the penetrator. It might work against a two-gap player, but it's not going to work against the penetrator. So that becomes a challenge for us. It's like, hey, Danny's right here. Danny's going to jump the cadence. He's going to get off the rock fast. We might have to change something up in how we're doing it. And I think that's what makes them hard to deal with every day. And they're big. They're strong. I mean, we have a strong D-line. They all can hold the point, and they've been giving us trouble. And then our edge guys have a great balance of speed to power and speed. We got guys that can come off the edge and run through your face, and then we got guys that can give you some wiggle and make you second guess and freeze you in your stance. So I think the coolest thing about our D-line is the various specialties that guys have and how they can kind of play off each other. And I can't wait to see what they do in the fall, because that's pretty cool lineup to have. You can do different things.
And whenever Fernando switched inside, in the spring, what was that, I guess, maybe learning curve like? How quickly did you feel like he was starting to grasp it and perform how you knew he could inside?
Fast. I mean, it's a lot. The biggest change from tackle to guard is everything happens faster, right? When you're a tackle, your brain doesn't have to operate quite as fast as that. If you look at the analytics, and I don't know if you guys care, but like when you do like cognition testing on athletes when they're getting ready for the NFL, you want your center and guards to have higher scores on that than your tackles, because everything happens so fast. And so I think that was really the only learning curve. That, and then understand, hey, you're an inside player. You're no longer setting the width of the pocket. You have to set the depth of the pocket now. So from a mindset and technique standpoint, that is different. But I feel like we got that figured out almost all the way through spring ball and throughout the summer and this training camp. He had one rep 2 days ago where he kind of turned into a left tackle on the 3 technique. I was like, hey, you're not a left tackle. He ain't just running him up, okay? So it shows up every now and then, but I think he's done a great job.
We care.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kobe. You wanted him to get stronger. I'm wondering about, obviously he had the pectoral that had to have set him back a little bit. How long has he been able to go full go, and did that set him back a big bit, in your opinion?
I mean, I think anytime you lose time, it is setting you back. I mean, he missed 2 months of working on his pecs. I'm sure his girlfriend would have liked to have him been able to do some bench press over the summer. But so obviously, I think that set him back from a football IQ standpoint. He was always engaged, always in meetings. From a athleticism standpoint, he's not out of shape. I was worried about him being out of shape, but he ran basically the last month of the summer. So he didn't lift as the same in July, but he ran and did everything almost 5 weeks before camp. So he didn't come in out of shape, and that's been, I think that's what's helped him, because I think if he would have missed the running, he'd probably be struggling from a conditioning standpoint.
Speaking of being in shape, it looks like Shaq's dropped like 18 pounds since the spring. Just what have you thought about his dedication, and do you feel like he's pushing at all for playing time?
Yeah, I mean, I think when he got here, he decided, like, Coach, I want to be lighter. And, there's a fine line there, because they do the DEXA scanning, and it ain't like he's 28% body fat. I mean, he was in the low 20s. I mean, probably our third or fourth best guy in the room as far as having lean muscle mass. So it wasn't like he was sloppy. And he just said, Coach, I want to lose a little bit so I can move better. And so we didn't really push it on him. He wanted to do it. He did it. He hasn't gotten too light. I think he's right at a good sweet spot, because he can still run really fast. And I know people don't think a guy like that can run, but he can roll. I mean, he can flat out run, and he is pushing. I mean, his maturity level from the day he got here to where he is now is night and day. I mean, he's looking back at me, telling me what he did before it comes out of my mouth. And when the player starts doing that, that's when okay, they're developing the whole game. They're developing the game within the game. And that's what's been exciting for me. And so he's pushing hard. He's doing a good job. Doing reps with the ones every day. And it doesn't look, there's not really a lot of change, It's not really a lot of change when he goes in.
Coach Pittman mentioned that Harris's value because he could play 4 different spots. Have you guys worked him at different spots?
Not yet. We did in the summer. So all summer, it was right tackle, right guard, left tackle. We didn't do any left guard reps in the summer, but him and Marcus Dumerville spent a lot of their summer doing a lot of different positions. So want to create that versatility, the habits, get the stance right. You want to try and get that done in the summer, so if you do have to make a change in season, it doesn't feel like you're, eating left-handed, And so I feel like we're in a good place with his versatility. He'll be ready if we need to, but right now we're kind of leaving him there at that right tackle spot.
You mentioned Shaq being like one of the top 4 guys in lean muscle mass. Who are some of the other ones who just are high up in that category?
LJ Prudhom's a freshman. He's 318 pounds, and I think he's 19% body fat, so he looks like a pro wrestler. Cash Courtney's another one, really low body fat. I don't have them memorized. You have to excuse me. But those are the 2 guys that stick out, And Marion Harris, he's done a good job of changing his body since he's been here.
Sam had talked about the battle at right guard first with Keyshawn and then Marion. Now Kobe's in the mix. I mean, I know it's early, but who would you say is the front runner for that starting job?
No. Nobody. I mean, today they all did some awesome stuff, and they all did stuff that pissed me off. So it's probably not the right time to ask me. Maybe ask me like if I'm at Parlor Donuts, like happy. I might tell you, but right now I don't know. We'll see. They're all good players, and they've all played. So they know it's a competition. Everybody in the room knows it's a competition. So it's the guy who can stack the most wins, the most daily wins, and the most days that I think is going to win that job.
And then you talked about the versatility on the left, but was there anything that stuck out to you with Corey and Caden from, wanting to jump on them in the portal?
Caden. Talking about the center?
Yeah, and then also Corey, too, just the 2 new guys.
So with Corey, it was like, hey, we got to be better in obvious passing down situations, okay? So not a huge issue on 1st and 10 for us, not a huge issue on 2nd and 2 for us. It's 3rd and 8. Everybody in the stadium knows it's a passing down. We got to perform. And I thought we were way under the mark last season. We got to be able to win one-on-one battles. When that guy knows his pass, grandma knows his pass, everybody knows his pass, can you win? And so that was the number 1 priority was, hey, let's go find the best pass blocking tackle we can get. All right, and we'll make him right in the run game. We feel like our run game culture is really good here. Last year we were first in the SEC in rushing efficiency, so we think the run game culture that we have in the room was really solid. We say, hey, we'll take a guy even if he's below whatever standard, but if he can pass block on 3rd and 9, all right, that's going to be who we go after. Corey was our first choice. That's who we went after, and that's who we got. And then Kidler, it was like, can we get a guy who's done the position, played the position in big moments and hostile environments, that can handle the pressure of making the calls, and just a personality. As center, you want a personality that you vibe with as the line coach. I've been really blessed to have coached some awesome centers in my career, and when you and your center are on the same page, man, it's really hard to be bad. And when you're not, it's not very fun. And so I think just personality-wise, he was a great fit for us too. So he's done a great job.
And then with it going to full pads today, and you were talking about pursuit of the ball, is that why you started out with an Indy, kind of that 3v3 drill where the guy tails on the shoulder and you have to run out a little bit and meet a guy?
Yeah. Well, which drill are you talking about?
I don't know the name for it. It's just I think it was like a 3v3, and then guys would be defenders would be holding the pads, waiting.
Oh, that was counter drill. And so that was, we're just working gap schemes. Those are counter pulls, guard, tackle, counter. Yeah, that's all that was.
Last year, it seemed like you mentioned the struggles on pure passing situations, and it seemed like sometimes opposing defenses had some success blitzing, especially maybe up the middle. Is that what can Caden do to kind of alleviate that this season?
It's everything. No one, because here's the deal. They're going to line up in one or two fronts on base downs, Third down, that's is what the D coordinators live for. This is what they do all offseason, is what kind of cool stuff can we come up with on passing downs to confuse the group. So you go into a game, all right, hey, these are the 3 subgrouping rush packages we got to be ready for. Here's the game plan for them, okay? Every game, there's going to be a new subgrouping rush package that you're not ready for. The D coordinators, and I think they're smart, because you're not going to do the same exact blitz pattern out of that same exact load front that you did week 1 as week 2, because we rep it, right? So you got to be able to have rules for the structure, okay? Is it overload? Is it loose double mug, all right? Is it a 3-2 mug where one guy's going to spy tailing and the other guy's going to have the back, and they're going to flush rush you? Okay, so there's all these various third down things we see. We go into the game with, hey, here's the game plan of what we're going to do. If something else shows up, we got to rely on our base principles of the protection, right, our base rules to be able to survive that down. Okay, because it's never a good enough excuse to your coordinator, well, they hadn't shown that before. BS, okay? That ain't the answer. The answer is your base rules got to be good enough to stop that new thing that maybe you hadn't seen. And so whenever you have a center where you're on the same page with him and they know the game plan for the stuff that we know is on film, right? We know that they're going to do this. And then what are the things they might do? Like, I'll guess, like, hey, I think they're probably going to put in this wrinkle now. And so we'll rep that. Even though they hadn't shown it, I just years in this league and years going against it, you're ready. You know, like this is the next thing in the maturation process of this third down package. And so then you might work that on Wednesday. So you really just need to have that trust. And when that center commands it, man, when he commands it, everybody feels that confidence, right? When it's soft and like that's when everybody starts playing timid, right? And so I think all of our centers have done a really good job. This year we got 3 centers that know what we want, know the game plan versus what our defense is doing, which our defense gives us a lot, and they're executing and make the right calls. And man, blocking on third down is 85% knowing who you got, right? The other 15 is just winning. But just know, we had too many issues where there's a free runner. Hey, the game plan was to do a 4-man slide, and we don't get it called, right? That's an issue, and I feel like we've improved in that area a lot.
You touched on the freshmen's their body fat earlier. How have they impressed you maybe just in practice? And I would say it was the first day of pads, but we got to see a couple of them working with like the second-team offensive line today. It seems like maybe they're further ahead than some freshmen might be.
Maybe the best group of freshmen I've had as far as toughness, football IQ, passion for the game. They just check a lot of boxes for young guys, man. And they all check that physical maturity box I talked about. They all are big. They all are strong. Cash, LJ, and Blake are 3 of our strongest O-linemen that we have. And they're all true freshmen. So they check that box from a physical standpoint, and then I've just been amazed at their ability to handle the install. To be quite honest with you, I mean, I think Cash Courtney as a center has maybe, 4 MAs through this whole practice camp so far, which is like crazy with how much install we have.
It kind of leads me to my next question. Coach Pittman always talks about needing multiple centers. Just how do you feel about the depth you have behind Kittler?
Yeah, great. I mean, it's I feel a lot better this year than last year. I mean, you like to have 4 that you feel like, Coach Pitt will say 5, but I think in 2020 at BYU we played the Boca Bowl with our 4-string center, so that's the deepest I had ever got. So I haven't got to 5, so maybe I'm just blessed. But you like to have 4, and I feel good about it. Right now I think we could put 3 out there right now and run us through the game and win an SEC game. I do. I think all 3 of those guys know the offense. They're all strong. They all know what they're doing, and so I feel confident with our depth there.
And you mentioned that year at BYU where you said you felt like you had 7 or even 8 starters. When you go into a game with that many guys, you have like a plan like, hey, these guys are going to play this series and this guy's going to play this series, and is it a feel after that point? Or kind of how do you go about doing that if you do have
It's
multiple
exactly
guys?
what it is. It's exactly what it is. I mean, you have a plan. Hey, I want to put this guy in 3rd series, and if the guy that's in is kind of cooking, let him cook. Don't turn the heat off on him, and then. If a guy goes in and does the opposite, you might feel compelled to maybe change it a little faster than that. But, yeah, it becomes a feel thing, and, you got it. You nailed it. That's what it is.
I don't know if you remember last year, but you talked about the challenges of, and you had a short turnaround also, but the challenges of bringing in, transfer portal offensive linemen when you got guys that have started and stuff. Well, you brought in 4 transfers and Bubba Craig also. Mm-hmm. I just wanted you to talk about the challenge and I guess the feeling of success that you were able to do that and put together an offensive line that really has – I mean, there might have been like 6 guys last year that could have started for you, in my opinion. It might be different for you, but you got a lot of competition now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, we had pregame meetings last year where it was like, hey, who's the backup right tackle? Joe Moore. Who's the right guard? Joe Moore. Who's the center? Joe Moore. And so we had some of those meetings last year. So it is different. I just think it's your job. You got to have a passion for acquiring talent. I mean, you're going to recruit your own sadness or happiness. So you got to go evaluate the players, get the guys you want, know what you're looking for, know what you need. The recipe is never the same year in and year out. Everybody's, the NFL has all their standards, their height, weight, all this stuff, but like personalities matter. Like, hey, I don't have any alphas right now. I need to go find an alpha. Or, hey, I need a brain. I need a real brainy guy. Okay, I need to go find a brain. So there's all these different attributes that come in when you're looking to put together a group. And I like to recruit diversity. I like to get guys from East Coast, West Coast, city boys, country boys. I think you got to have a little bit of everything, and that kind of puts those natural barriers of communication down where it's like, okay, we're all different, so we better start talking to each other. It's not just like, hey, we're all country boys, we're all city boys, And so I think all of that goes into it. I know maybe people don't think about it. You just want the highest star you can get or whatever. But, I mean, to me, the personality fit in our room is more important than anything just because of how connected we got to be.
No, you haven't really ironed out who's starting and who isn't. But last year when you look at the backup offensive line, as you kind of mentioned, you really just see like one future potential starter in Kobe Branham. Mm-hmm. And this year, you've got Bubba Craig's a young guy and Kavion's a young guy. I was wondering if you could talk about maybe those guys specifically and just also having built a little bit of a foundation for the future also.
Yeah, so one thing, and I was joking with you last year, Trey, after you put that article, like, hey, they're screwed next year. I think Trey put out an article and said, what in the world will they do next year? And we hadn't even played a game yet. So I was like, cool, Trey, good article. And but my point is that was intentional to go get portal guys that were young. Like, finding redshirt freshmen and Shaq and Kavion in the portal, that was on purpose because I knew we had to go get a vet left tackle or just the best left tackle we could get. And then it was like, okay, let's get a vet here, a vet center, but hey, let me get a young tackle, all right, who's early in his career that can play behind Corey Robinson and develop and learn the game from him. So, again, it just kind of goes back to everything was intentional with what we targeted. It wasn't just like, hey, throw the net out wide and just hope you get 4 or 5 guys, right? I wouldn't have taken Bubba Craig if he only had 2 years left, but he had 3, so I took him. So all that goes into it when you're deciding how that room's going to be built up.
You mentioned you had some other guys taking first-team reps at center last couple of days. How's Brooks looked, and has anybody else gotten some top reps?
Yeah, Brooks and Cash have both been doing one center. Caden was a little banged up the last couple of days, but so they both done one center reps, and they're both doing a great job. I mean, there's you don't feel sometimes when you put in 2 and 3 center, it's like, hey, the line goes the wrong way. You have something like that, but we're not having those. And so because to me, and there's a lot of pressure, like, hey, you guys are snapping the ball to Taylon Green. So if you make the wrong protection call and you mess up that guy, we got a problem. Okay, so I think they feel that ownership of like, hey, man, I got these vets around me. I got a veteran quarterback. And Taylon helps us a lot with that too. Like Taylon will make those blitz checks and those run checks because he's another year in. So he can help our centers even more so with what he sees, because he has big vision. We try to have big vision, but we don't always have big vision. Taylon does. So he's helped those centers a ton too, just giving them confidence.
The knee braces for all linemen have been around for a while. Is that just the de facto? That's what we're doing, or are you like a big advocate? And do you think the stats say it lessens injuries for knees?
Well, what we do here at Arkansas, our policy is when we're in padded practices, we wear knee braces. Games are optional. So if they want to wear them in games or they don't want to wear them in games, it's up to them. But when we're in padded practices, we wear them. When we're in non-padded, we don't. If you're asking my personal opinion on it, let's not try to light the world on fire. I think of the movie Forrest Gump, okay? You got little Forrest. He's got these braces on, right? And he's been told, man, you're slow, stiff walker, right? And then the boys start chasing him, and those knee braces pop off, and he's the fastest thing in Alabama. So that's my belief, as I think they're a little restrictive, and we're already the worst athletes on the field, so I would like to not make that even more so.
Didn't expect that, but thank you very much, Eric. How's City Boy Corey Robinson doing? Is he kind of living up to what you expected to get from him?
Yeah, super proud of him. He's done a good job. He knew that the great thing about Corey is he's very coachable. He knows his strengths and weaknesses, and he's not satisfied. I think he was really looking to compete in this conference. He wanted to show that he could play 8 games in the SEC and the 9th in the championship, and he wanted to show he could do it. And he needs to be part of that group of combine tackles that everybody's talking about next year. And he's done a good job. He's not perfect. He's got a lot of stuff to work on, but he's an eager and willing soldier.
I've got one more center question. With Cade, you mentioned how good he is at recognizing things and making calls and stuff like that. How do you go about recruiting that? Like, do you know that he's going to be good at that, or is it kind of luck of the draw? Because that's not something really that shows up on film, I would imagine. How do you go about recruiting that aspect of a center?
Talk to him. You just got to talk. You got to get a feel. Like I said, I've been super blessed to have been around some awesome centers. I think 3 of them guys I've been around are still starting in the league. Frank was a 4th. So I've been really lucky. And so you just know. You just know, does he have that personality? I've had the brainiac nerd guys be good centers. I've had the dude bro guys that have been good centers. But it's really like a passion for football knowledge that you're looking. Like, does this guy have a passion for knowing ball? Okay? And I think that's really the thing you're looking for with a center is, man, he just can't get enough of it. He's a junkie when it comes to football. Whether they're, type A or type B, that's really doesn't matter. It's really like, do they just love ball? And I think that's when you recruit and you talk to them and you ask them questions. Hey, you send them a clip. Hey, you did this on this play. Why did you do this versus Florida? Oh, I did it because of this, this, and this. Okay, that's a real answer. Whereas like, oh, my coach told me to. Like that's not a real answer. So same thing like any other position. You're always looking at, do they love the game? All right, thanks guys, appreciate it.